All right, so I've drawn out the graph that you're given in part 2 of problem 2. Now, the biggest hurdle for this problem is just understanding the very, very basic thing, which is that what is f of x? F of x is y. Y equals f of x. This is the function that we have here, okay? What does this mean? This means that there's, like, if we think of like a parabola, f of x equals y equals x squared. This means that for any given x value that you plug into your equation, you'll have some y that is a function of x. It just says y is a function of x. It doesn't say that y equals x, because x is being manipulated as some function, but y is a function of whatever x value you plug into that equation. Okay? So if you want to remember, the most important thing for this problem is that what is f of x? F of x is y. Y represents f of x. Okay? You are asked to determine the following function values. F of 4 and f of negative 2. Okay? This is basically just saying find the value of y. What is y when x equals negative 2, and what is y when x equals 4? That's all it's asking. Okay? So let's figure this out. Let's find x equals negative 2, which is right here. And I didn't add enough lines here, but the truth is sorry, this is not to scale is what I mean to say. But if I'd drawn this to scale, you'd see that if we want to figure out the value of our function at x equals negative 2, it's this value right here, and according to the actual graph of the function that you're given in the problem, this is y equals negative 3. So when x equals negative 2, according to the graph, y equals negative 3. So f of negative 2 equals negative 3. Does that make sense? Awesome. All right. Now, what about when x equals 4? What is the value of y? Again, this is just y equals what when x equals those things. So let's go out to here. Here's our 4. X equals 4. And according to this function, y should equal negative 1. Or according to the graph of this function, at x equals 4, y equals negative 1. So we simply we would start by finding our point on the x-axis given this value here, and then we just draw a vertical line, see where it crosses over, find the corresponding y value. So this is the point 4, comma, negative 1. This is the point negative 2, comma, negative 3. And basically what this is saying is that when x equals 4, f of 4 equals y. This is equal to negative 1. Okay? You are then asked to explain the difference between f of negative 1 and f of x equals negative 1. Then determine all values x for which f of x equals negative 1. So again, this f of negative 1 corresponds to a y value. Okay? and f of x equals -1 corresponds this corresponds to the x, when x equals -1, what is the y value? And this asks you, when f of x equals -1, what is the x value? Okay, so it's a little bit nuanced. If you have more questions about that, let me know. But as you can see, if you understand this first part, this next part shouldn't be too hard. You simply have to put it into words what you're trying to say, which is essentially what's the difference between those two. And f of -1 is going to give you a y value. This basically says that when x equals -1 here, what is your y value? This is asking, given that y equals -1, what is your x value? Now, in the next part of that part, you're asked to determine all values x for which f of x equals -1. So, we have f of x, our function, is equal to, has a y value equal to -1 at x equals 4. It also has a value of -1 here. This is the y-intercept, where it crosses over the y-axis. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept occurs when x equals 0. This has a -1 at x equals 0. So those are the two values right there. X equals 4 and x equals 0. Yeah. You were then asked to state the domain and the range. Now, as we recall, looking at this function, we can see that these are continues on forever, meaning that if we continue this on forever, what are the possible y values? Well, they extend all the way to, x values, they extend all the way to -infinity. And what are all the y values if you continue on this way? Well, it's possible for it to go all the way to +infinity, or up to +infinity. And so our domain, which is our possible x values that our function can intake, is going to be equal to -infinity to +infinity. You might not need to write that positive sign. Definitely need to write the negative sign. So this is the domain. Okay, what about the range? Again, the range refers to the y values that you're allowed. And as we can see, our largest y value that we ever get is y equals 1, meaning if we were to ask at any point on this function, what is the highest value our y could be? Well, it's +1 here, as you can see. What about the most negative our function could be? Well, the truth is, if we followed this down forever, it would just keep getting more and more negative as we got further on this function, whether we went this way or that way. And so our y values go from -infinity to 1. We always do least to greatest. Again, if we are including the endpoint, which we do in this case, include the endpoint, we do this square bracket. Let me know if you have questions about that, or if you, what video you could watch to help you understand that. But again, we don't include the endpoint -infinity. We're going down to -infinity, and we're going up to and including, that's why we do the square bracket, +1. And again, this is our range. These are our possible y values. This is y min to y max. This is x min to x max. And that is how you solve problem 2, part 2, parts 1 and 2.